2002, 28 Days Later was released. It was directed by Danny Boyle, who at this point was mainly known for Trainspotting. It was a British zombie horror movie and it ignited a whole new wave of zombie movies. In 2007, 5 years later, there was a sequel called 28 Weeks Later. And I'm gonna be honest, I actually haven't seen this one. I've only seen Days and Years. The guy who directed 28 Weeks Later is the same guy who directed Damsel, so this movie probably isn't that good. But then, 23 years after 28 Days, yes, I also wish it actually came out 28 years later, we got 28 years later. The key difference in this franchise to most zombie movies is that the infected in these movies aren't actually zombies. They're not undead, no, they're alive, they're just infected with the rage virus. Which basically makes them so angry that they want to kill you for having the audacity for existing near them. 28 years later reintroduced a new generation to the rage virus. And it has been fairly divisive. And I saw it at the cinema when it first came out and I left absolutely loving it. I thought it was unexpected, emotionally complex, and masterfully crafted. And I really wanted to express my love for this movie. I think divisive films are interesting and I think they're fun to talk about. But it is very hard to go into why I love it so much without talking about spoilers. Meaning, yes, spoilers ahead. And when I say spoilers, I mean spoilers. We're going to talk about character arc, we're going to talk about the story, and we're going to talk about the ending in detail. So if you want to go in blind, which I highly, highly recommend, it's the vastly better experience, click off now. Main point of discussion around this is that the movie is completely different from what we expected. 28 Days Later is a bloodbath, a never-ending pit of hell where really big star actors will just be killed off halfway through the movie. So the only characters who you really feel confidently aren't going to die are Jim and Hannah. And in the finale, it's the finale. The only one you're safe is Hannah. But despite her age when it stops her being killed, the movie still isn't afraid to go to some dark place with her character. Which I don't even want to say so that my video doesn't get algorithm blocked. And I think everyone expected that from 28 Years Later. Not just because it's the sequel to a movie that is like that, but also because the trailer made it look exactly like that. And to be fair, I think everyone would agree that that trailer is one of the best trailers of all time. And for my point, I'm going to show you the trailer. The entire thing. I'll be surprised if when I try and play it, it's not going to work and nothing's going to show up. I will leave a note if that's the case, because I might just get copyright flagged. But oh well, here goes nothing.
Wait, sit here. Sit.
Auntie, what's going on?
Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet and do not move from this spot.
Seven, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, keep me from going lunatic. Boom, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11,
You see that? It's nightmare fuel, it's terrifying, and it's really misleading. It does exactly that. It misleads. It looked like a straightforward horror movie. It looked like a really great horror movie, but a horror movie. 28 years later, at its core, is not a horror movie. Also, the dad isn't barely in the movie. That's not what I'm here to talk about. He's there very prominently in the first 50 or so minutes into the movie. But then he gets into an argument with Spike, and he's never really seen again. After that, almost the entire movie is about Spike and his mother. And toward the end, we also have Dr. Kelson. In the middle, we have Eric for a bit. Still, I honestly think the reality is so much better. Like, so much better. Seriously, what would be the point having the same movie as the first one, except slightly different cast, and I guess Selena didn't have very good memory? No, instead Danny Boyle and Alec Garland gave us an emotionally rich and touching story of a boy doing everything in his power to find the last doctor to help his mother. And it never gets boring. There's always aggression and characters are introduced, but they never distract from the other ones. Like Eric, if he became a third main character, that just wouldn't work. But also, we do need a reason for Spike and Isla to meet the baby who becomes the emotional anchor. And as soon as he does his purpose, he's fucking murdered. Speaking of the baby, their existence is a genius emotional anchor. And the fact that it's a non-infected baby from an infected mother is genius lore and world building. All of this? Would any of this be in the movie people expected? No, it wouldn't have. But unfortunately, having something not be what you expected messes with some people. Clearly, with quite a lot of people. So I think that most people should give this movie a rewatch if they didn't care for it, so they can watch it with the right expectations. Because this is a story I think is truly special, and I think it needs to be experienced by as many people as possible. So if you're one of those people who didn't like it, please give it a rewatch, I beg. I think with the right expectations you'll like it. Maybe not as much as I do, but still like it. And if you do rewatch it and still don't like it, well Spike is the lead character of this movie. He's 12 years old and he's not having a great time. His mum Isla has an unknown condition, which we later find out is terminal cancer, but all he knows is that his mum can't really get out of bed and has very bad memory. His dad regularly goes out to where the zombies are, and is also not very good at handling his sick mum. And after Spike's first time on the mainland, he also finds out his dad is a cheat. And when he goes out for the first time with his dad, he sees something burning. His dad denies any knowledge of it, but is acting very weird. But he eventually finds out it's the home of Dr. Kelson, who apparently used to be a doctor but went crazy. But Spike completely ignores the crazy part, and him and Isla go out searching for the doctor and hoping he'll have cure for Isla's disease. And for the record, no, Isla does not consent to this. Spike's arc in this movie is about going from being a boy to being a man. God, that sounded so f***ing corny. Doing that without losing the kindness at his core. And it's done really well using his mother and everything surrounding her. And by the end, it's reached a very satisfying conclusion. Seeing him and Dr. Kelson hiding from the Alpha at the end is really something special. And it's also really impressive that it never beats you over the head with it. It's a really subtle character change, to the point you don't really realize it's happened until you start thinking about it. And I fully mean that as a compliment. You think back on it and realize, holy that was a really well and intelligently written arc. Outside of that, though, he's still firing on all cylinders. He has a clear goal: find the doctor to save his mother. Simple, but effective. He also has clear personality traits. He's determined, he's loving, he's strong, increasingly throughout the film. Plus, he worked perfectly as the protagonist. Seeing this emotionally rich story play out through the eyes of a child, genius, it all works. Imagine this was from Isla's perspective. Sure, it'd work, I guess. But it just doesn't work as well, because seeing it all through Spike's eyes makes it feel more urgent. This is partly because of Jodie Comer's absolutely incredible performance. I also think it's partly because it's told from Spike's perspective. It almost feels like Isla is your sick mother. It really makes you feel like you need to find that doctor. Not to mention the fact that, like everyone else in the cast, Alfie Williams is killing it with his performance. Especially for an actor who's never done it before. Especially for an actor who's never done it before who also happens to be 14 years old. Spike in this film functions as the perfect protagonist. The movie would just be worth if anyone else in the cast was the protagonist instead of him. Jodie Comer is one of the best new actresses being given all the worst roles. Like, basically all her roles are in really obscure stuff, with the only exception being The Rise of Skywalker, where not only is she in a shit movie, she also has a shit role as Rey's mum with no dialogue. I think Rey's mum has no dialogue. I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker in a while, and I don't want to because that movie is painful. Oh, and she was in Free Guy, but I haven't getting her any Oscars anytime soon. But in this movie, it so clearly shows her acting talent, because she is acting here, especially towards the end. Some of the emotion she displays is so insane, I wish I could even begin to be able to do it. I don't want to spoil it yet, because I do want to save it for the ending segment. She tells a pretty key piece of news to Spike is so emotional. It nearly makes you cry just before it finally does cry when the news takes effect. But past Jodie Comer's performance, which I do want to emphasize is just so immaculate, her writing is also really, really excellent. Her character, Isla, has an unknown illness, which we later find out is terminal cancer, causes her to have very foggy memory and be physically very weak. Throughout all of it, there is this sense of desperation to get her through and help her. That's because she's so well written. Because it's so directly told from Spike's perspective, as well as Jodie Comer's performance, she feels like a sick mother figure to you, too. Isla's whole condition just feels so real. I don't know how scientifically accurate it is, I just really can't speak to it. But real or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it feels real. Without getting into specifics, the ending to her story is just so perfect. Everything about it, the way it's delivered, the immediate aftermath, all the characters' reactions, they all work in perfect verisimilitude, and it's enough to make a grown man cry. And despite by all accounts being one, in the back half, Isla never feels like a damsel. She is at first, but it all changed with a shot I don't actually have footage of, where you see her beating a zombie's head against the wall who tried to attack Spike while he was sleeping. And to the rest, it feels like she has some sort of agency. She can move by herself, she has her own opinions, she makes the conscious choice to take the baby, who then sort of goes on to be the MacGuffin of the plot. And she spent a lot of the runtime defending keeping the baby despite it being born of an infected. Anyway, Isla is probably the best character in the movie. She has the best writing behind her, Jodie Comer gives the best performance out of an incredibly well-acted movie, and she has a heartbreaking but satisfying conclusion. She is one of the best characters of the year. And Jodie Comer needs to be cast in more stuff. Hollywood, I beg you. This one is going to be much more brief than the other two so far. Because like I said, Jamie isn't actually in the movie that much. But for its presence, he works. Aaron Taylor Johnson is killing it. But that goes without saying because everyone in this movie is legendary. Like all the other side characters, like Eric, we need him to serve a purpose. And once he's served that purpose, bam, written out. Because he's been killed in this movie, and he's confirmed to be in part 2 of the Bone Temple. His purpose in the movie is to show Spike where the mainland is. Once he's done that, he gets into an argument with Spike, and he's never seen again. The argument feels natural, not forced. He's cheating, so Spike gets mad. And because of the dialogue, on top of the way the actors are performing, it feels real. They get Ray Fiennes for this. Like, $60 million budget is nothing to scoff at, but I'm surprised that was enough to afford Ray Fiennes, one of the most sought after actors of our time. This motherfucker is in everything and you didn't know, I guarantee. What the hell do you mean he was in Prince of Egypt? And Schindler's List. Daniel Craig James Bond movies? And Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit? I read this man, he was not in these movies. He's corrupt old film footage and putting himself in. Okay. Anyway, the reason Ray Fiennes is so sought after is because he is a very good actor. This movie is no exception because he is excellent in it. He brings this distinct wisdom to Dr. Coulson, while still keeping an aura of decaying mental state and still just being like that crazy. On a writing level, he's perfect. He's smart and crazy. It's a fascinating concept and it's done perfectly. He's got such a distinct aura, both in the sense that he has an aura and in the fact that he just has an off-the-charts amount of aura. And this isn't really about the character, but it's probably the only time I'm going to get to talk about this. His entire Pillar of Skulls is so cool. Not only is it an insanely striking image, but it just feels like such a poetic way to show what an effect it's had in the UK. Plus, it just feels super cool for Dr. Coulson to have while also being completely in character. Coulson might be my second favourite character. And not second because of any issues I have with him, just because my heart belonged to Isla because, like, dude, absolute cinema. But Dr. Coulson's a very good and very close second. You feel like you're in the presence of a real doctor. And it gives you one huge glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, Isla can make it. You smile as you think, this is great, Isla's gonna be fine. Or at least you know you're gonna get the satisfaction of knowing what's wrong with her. Then something happens, and it just feels like the perfect ending to everyone's arc while still being so tragic. And it has to do with Dr. Coulson in a big way, and it's perfect, and I want to talk about it next. What am I talking about? I'm being very vague and very annoying and act like I have no friends. Well, the last part might not be entirely not true. What I'm talking about is this. At the very end of the movie, Dr. Coulson diagnoses Isla's condition to be cancer. Not just any old cancer, terminal cancer. Not specified what type of cancer, but it's terminal. Now this, oh my god. When you find out, it hits you like a ton of bricks. And like a lot of bricks, and very heavy ones too. You've been waiting the entire movie to save her for nothing. And not in a what the hell, this entire movie was pointless kind of way. You know, that is bleak, sad, depressing, and wholly satisfying ending. That makes complete sense. Kind of way. And I also respect the choice to have it be cancer instead of some random made-up disease, particularly if it was the rage virus. It just wouldn't work nearly as well. No, it's cancer, a real disease, and it makes it feel so much more real. Then there's Spike's reaction. He's in complete heartbreak and denial, insisting that he can find a cure, not knowing that there was no cure even before the outbreak, which taking place in 2002, meaning it's only taking place 5 years from now. 2030 is only 5 years away, what the hell? Still don't have a cure, which makes it so much more just hopeless. There is no magic cure or saving her, and they don't make any form of cop-out, which is really impressive. Because Isla dies. She doesn't recover or find a cure. She dies, and it's so emotionally powerful. And it isn't enough to make anyone cry. How do I know that, you ask? Because I cried. Both times I saw this. One of the best scenes and one of the saddest scenes in the entire year. Made even sadder by the fact that she goes out on her own terms. Yes, the cancer will get her either way, it's still terminal. But she chooses to have Dr. Coulson kill her early before the cancer can kill her, so she can have a more peaceful ending. And even though you understand her, dude, it hurts, man. And when she brings you to Spike and you see his reaction, cherry on top of the bleak, depressing, and excellently baked cake. And yes, it is helped by Jodie Comer's performance. This woman is incredible. But for characters, it comes down to two things: acting and writing. Both massively important, but the writing is marginally more so. And the writing for this moment is the real heartbreak. Anyway, time for the other part of the ending. We've established that this movie is weird, right? Yeah, I agree. Danny Boyle wasn't happy, and he said, this movie's great, but do you know what is missing? Jimmy Savile. Okay, time for some British lore. Jimmy Savile was a British TV star who was mainly known around the 90s, mainly with shows like Jim'll Fix It, where he'd grant people's wishes. He was known for his blonde hair, his cigar smoking habit, his big tinted glasses, his jewelry, and his zany expressions. His strong northern accent and his high-pitched nasal voice. And he had a lot of catchphrases, such as, now then, guys and gals. How's about that then? As it happens, and Savile travels, which all sound really generic now. So, this guy was very distinctive. He was a UK darling, everyone loved him. And then, in 2011, he died, and everyone was sad. He was mourned for a year. But the reason he isn't mourned to this day is because in October 2011, a year after he died almost exactly, His entire legacy went to shit when over 450 people came forward to say that they were sexual abuse victims by him. This man was crazy. He raped boys, he raped girls, he raped adults, he raped children. He allegedly raped at least one actual corpse. This man was diabolical. He had done it all. He was collecting sex crimes like infinity stones. And the number 450 isn't an exaggeration. Timeline of events the things we're accusing him of happened over the span of 5 decades. If you're done illiterate and can't do math for shit, that's over 50 years. Police caught on and confirmed basically all the allegations. But no one could do anything because he was dead. I thought I'd open this section with that because most people outside the UK don't really know who Jimmy Savile is and what a f***ing insane person he is. Anyway, why the hell am I talking about this? This isn't a YouTube Jimmy Savile documentary, this is a review of 28 years later. Well, my dear viewer, we aren't done with this movie, because what you just heard isn't random. Because he's at the end of this movie. That sounds like a joke. It sounds like the crazy thing you dream about, and then wake up and wonder how the hell your imagination could physically think of that. But this is real, because these guys have a concerning mind, and I love it. End of the movie, you're still recovering from the emotional impact of Isla's death, and you see there's still one last scene left. An infected is charging at Spike. He looked up and shoots him, but then comes a ton more, and I mean like a ton. What the hell is Spike gonna do? Enter Jimmy Crystal. Yes, they even had the same first name. Danny Boyle and Alec Garland weren't really being subtle about the comparisons. And Jimmy Crystal jumps down with around 5 to 7 Jimmys killing the infected. This actually isn't the first time we see him in the movie. Opening, we see Jimmy and his friends as kids. At the start of the infection, watching Teletubbies as all the adults around them die. Really good opening scene. It establishes the tone of the scene and is, like a lot of great opening scenes, works in itself as a good short film. Another detail is in the first act when Spike or Jamie find an infected. The infected has a bag over his head and has something carved into him, and most notably, he's upside down. And what's carved into him isn't immediately obvious, but if you look at it closely, it says Jimmy. Meaning it was Jimmy who carved it in, which I think is such a genius little detail. Jimmy is constantly built up throughout the film, which is what lets the final reveal at the end be not too jarring to me, even if it is admittedly a kinda jarring. And it has been very divisive. In fact, I'd actually say that the final scene of this movie has become the most divisive part. Which is why I want to defend it, because despite everything, I think it's a great ending and a pretty clever commentary. Okay, maybe that was a poor choice of words, because I'm not going to pretend like this one scene has insane, thoughtful commentary. It's 4 minutes. But he's confirmed to be in the Bone Temple for a pretty significant role. You can't just have a Jimmy Savile stand-in without some level of commentary. And yes, this is Jimmy Savile, I'm not just reaching. If you actually watch it, you'll clearly see it is. Plus, Danny Boyle himself, the man, the myth, the madman, confirmed in a recent interview that it is meant to be a Jimmy Savile stand-in. But I do think it got great commentary because it showed that Jimmy Savile's crime could never be exposed. The world collapsed in 2002, 10 years before everything came out. And yes, I know there's a child at the start meaning that he would not have been a TV star, but shut up. But honestly, I can't say I'm surprised this has been so divisive. But I don't actually think the tonal shift is too sharp, the way a lot of people do. I think it exists, but it isn't too bad. In fact, I think it works. Also, Jack O'Connell, man. I've only seen him in this and Sinners, but this man is a national treasure and needs to be protected. And I cannot wait for him in part 2, because I just know that Alec Garland got something interesting for us. I just know it. My spidey senses are tingling. If you somehow don't know, 28 years later is the start of a new trilogy. Sequel, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, has already been shot and is scheduled for release on January 16th, 2026. That's only 6 months after the first 28 years later, and I cannot wait. Not only has it got everyone who didn't die from the first one back, it's also got Cillian goddamn Murphy returning as Jim from the very first movie. It isn't confirmed, but I really hope that it also signals the return of Hannah and Selena, who are also from the very first movie. And honestly, very little is known about the third and final movie. The only things known is that Danny Boyle and Alec Garland will return. The only currently known cast member is Cillian Murphy, again Jim. And that's about it. The only other thing I know about them is that I'm really, really excited for both of them. Seriously, tell me in the comment section, because I want to know, I really do. Are you excited for the 2 sequels? Are you nervous because the second one being directed by Neil DaCosta instead of Danny Boyle? Honestly, I'm made a little bit nervous by it. But from what I know, he's still pretty heavily involved with that movie. He handed the actual directing over to someone else because, if you don't know, 20 years later in the Bone Temple were shot at the same time, so it'd be hard for him to kind of direct both. Honestly, I'm not that scared. I'm pretty confident in it. And I'm eagerly awaiting the plot synopsis to be released. Okay, I've never done this kind of segment before, so let me explain to you how it's going to work. I've pulled 5 reviews from Letterboxd, all critical of this film, and not one-liners, not really big and bulky ones, but not one-liners that are, critical of the film, and I'm going to try and rebuttal what they're saying without a script. It's all non-scripted, so please enjoy. Okay, first review by Bearded Toad. 2 stars. This sucked. It didn't know what kind of movie it wanted to be, and instead focused on setting up a sequel that will also probably suck. Okay, I felt like a lot to unpack there. I think it did know what kind of movie it wanted to be. Sure, I can understand the ending. People argue with the tonal shift. Like I said earlier, I think the tonal shift works. But throughout almost all of the rest of the movie, I think it was fairly consistent. And, I guess the first act is kind of different from the rest of the movie about Isla, but I don't think it is. I think it's a fairly similar tone, even if it's different happenings, I guess. But I think one leads into another, I think it works. And I don't think when most of the movie is setting up a sequel, I don't even know what the hell the sequel's going to be like. I'm really excited for it, obviously, but I have no idea what the bloody hell the sequel's going to be like, because I don't think the movie really spent that much time on that. And I think it would also work perfectly as a self-contained story. So I'm pretty sure, I don't think this is true. Thank you for your non-consented help with this video, Bearded Toad. Okay, next review by JJ Squirrel. 2.5 stars. This was so disappointing, felt convoluted, and failed to come anywhere close to the original. Maybe I need to rewatch, but very unfortunate given the time they had to make the movie. Ending was so strange. Okay, so immediately, ending was so strange. Again, for the millionth time, I understand it, I get it, but I disagree, and I spent a very, very long time talking about that. Felt convoluted. I don't think so, actually. I think the movie kept very, very rigidly to one plot. The only time it ever really deviated from that was the baby, but even then that went in pretty, that was a very important part, and that furthered the main plot. And obviously the first bit is one thing, the rest of it another thing. I've heard that a million times, and I do agree, but I think it's a good thing. So I don't really know how it would be convoluted. If it would come anywhere close to the original, that's your opinion. I can't really argue with that. I prefer this one, but if you prefer this one, but if you prefer that one, then I don't know. And very unfortunate given the time they had to make this movie. This movie hasn't been in production for that long, I don't think. It isn't long delayed since the first or second one or anything. This is fairly new. So, I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's true. But thank you, JJ Squirrel. Okay, this is by Edel. 2 stars. Why would anyone all be f***ing sleeping while on patrol? Also, why would you scream and not be alerted / cautious in the middle of the causeway? You're still not safe. I don't know about you, but is it just me? But if I ever see myself in an apocalypse, I won't have time to be celebrating and... Also, Spike, what a brave young lad. Also, why would take the baby? That's not grammar. Oh my god. Also disappointing. I expected more from a sequel of a horror film. I wanted to be spooked / thrilled. Okay, this is actually pretty fitting what I've been talking about a lot of the time. Why would anyone be sleeping on patrol? It's the middle of the night and they're not really expecting anyone to come back. They do need their sleep, because obviously. So, yeah. Oh, why would you still scream and not be left like cautious in the middle of the causeway? I guess, like, you aren't entirely safe. The zombies still can, I guess, get you. But there's so many more people who can protect you. Plus, you're capable of outrunning them there, and we don't even know if the zombie can swim. So, and I don't. Well, I think that's different because, like, yes, in the first 28 days per se, obviously you won't be celebrating because they're in the first 28 days, which is why you don't see them celebrating or anything. We kind of do, but don't in the first one. But this is 28 years later, so they kind of established a society within the apocalypse where they can have party and they do have time to party. Why would you take the baby? I think that the baby, as much as maybe it would have inconvenienced them and does inconvenience them, or could have in theory, I think it is completely in character for Isla and Spike actually, to be that good-hearted to take the baby. I think it makes for a great MacGuffin, so it is necessary. Not MacGuffin, a great, plot device, and I think that's very well done. You kind of need it. But I think it's very in character for those two to, be kind and make sure the baby is okay, especially when it's not an infected one. I want to be spooked/thrilled. This is about the expectation thing. Yeah, the trailer didn't do this movie any favors because they really did make it look like a horror movie, but it's not. And I think it's better not as a horror movie. But a lot of people thought it would be a horror movie, so they're disappointed, and I can understand that. Even if I don't agree. Okay, a review by QT. What a disappointment. Awful characters and poor storytelling. A confused mess that can't decide whether to be serious or not. I don't know what you're talking about. Awful characters. I don't get how you can say that. I think they're all distinctive, and they all have very good and well-written arcs. Poor storytelling. I don't get what's poor about it. Like, yeah, it shifts after a bit, but not really, because that first bit very safely shifts into the rest of the movie, and it feels natural. And I don't know why I keep saying complaints about it. And a confused method can't remember to be serious or not. That would imply that there need to be comedic moments that at bad points. I don't know when the fourth this movie is comedic. It is not. It is very serious throughout. It is always brooding and bleak, fairly, and there's never really a breakaway from that at any point. And so I just don't know why I keep seeing this, because, well, I don't keep saying the serious or not, but no, but just like a lot of it, particularly just the confused mess bit. I think it is, considering that it is two pretty different plot lines, I don't see why some people are complaining, considering just how excellently well done it is. Thank you, Cute. Okay, final review, and this is a very short one. From Girl in Question. 2.5 stars. Cornball ass movie. I don't think it's corny. I actually saw a few people say it's corny, but I thought just, a review just saying that would probably be the best one. When I came across it, I thought that. I don't see how any of it's corny. I think corny is my mortal enemy, Forrest Gump. That, really just sentimental. And this is sad, but I wouldn't say it's sad in a sort of, sentimental, how sad, but look at the good stuff kind of way. It's just sad, and I don't think that makes it corny, and I think you just really feel the emotion, like, just in your soul. That, I'll tell you what, corny, what I just bloody said is corny, but, like, it is really, really sad. You can feel it being really, really sad, and I think if it was corny, it'd be emotional and you'd just laugh at it. And I never laughed at this film other than like the one or two jokes that they tell, usually with Eric, that were, kind of funny. I mean, they weren't particularly funny, but they were kind of funny and they worked to make myself, not want to kill myself with misery. That was a joke. YouTube, please don't kill me. But anyway, that's that review. Thank you, girl in question. I've seen 28 Years Later twice now. I'm going to watch it a third time the day this video is out just to promote it on my Letterboxd. From those 2 times, I can confidently call it a masterpiece, as well as one of my favourites of the year. I think Sinners slightly edges it out for number 1, but this is a very close second. I think it has incredible characters, a great ending, an interesting plot, great themes, and it's generally a very fun time. Overall, evening out to be my second favourite movie of the year, one of my favourite zombie movies of all time, my favourite out of the 2 in this franchise I've seen, and a top 35 movie of all time for me. And I know a lot of you probably think it's too soon to say that, and I hear you, but I think it's justified. I think this movie is so fantastic. And I know that last video I said I'll tell you what my next video will be. There's actually 2 answers this time. My actual next video should be on Friday with a new 5 to 10 minute review of the new Naked Gun movie. Because I go to the cinema about once a week, on Fridays I'm going to give a short review on what I went to see. But the proper in-depth stuff in the vein I've been doing with this, my 1994 Vignettes trilogy video, and my Tarantino ranking, those will stay on Tuesdays. My next in-depth review next Tuesday will be on Sinners and why I think it's the best movie of the year. We're all mad here. I'm going to go with a bowl of pasta.